Hey folks, Daniel here. I've got a little problem. You see, my Cadillac has Rainsense wipers, and that means when the rain gets on the windshield, the wipers are supposed to automatically come on until the water's gone. Well, it's not doing it. And that's because the Rainsense sensor doesn't seem to be working properly. So in this video, I'm gonna be showing you how to swap out that sensor for a new one and hopefully get yours working. This applies to the 2014 to 2019 CTS and probably most GM cars of that era. And you'll probably see some similarities with other cars. I'm gonna tell you why I think it has failed and of course the quick and easy swap out of the sensor, so just keep watching. The rain sensor is located up here with the other electronics by your rear view mirror. You can see the sensor from the outside of the car. Now, I'm not gonna get into all the details of how it works, but there's a good video linked down below for you to check that out. But here's the basics of it. There are a couple sensors in there and it detects if light is coming straight in or not. But if water droplets get on the windshield, it refracts the light and they detect that. It'll turn on the wipers until there's no more refraction or no more droplets on the windshield. It can also give you nuisance wipes. If you have a rock chip in that area and the light hits it just right, the light will refract, the sensor will think it's water, and a nice dry wipe on your windshield. Probably one of the few things I really hate about the automatic wipers. But in order for the sensor to work properly, it needs to think it's one with the glass. There can't be any gap between the sensor and the glass, and this is done with a clear gel liquid right on top of the sensor, pressed up against the glass. So I know what's going on with my sensor, and that is I had this windshield replaced a few years ago from Safelite, and it was fine, but a year or two later, I did notice a little stream of liquid running down my windshield, and I was pretty sure I knew what that was. It was the gel from the sensor, and around that time, my Rainsense wipers stopped working. Now, of course, I tried to call Safelite, but they never called back, surprise, surprise. So I said, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna do it myself, and I'll show the viewers. So this is the little culprit. It's just a little sensor, usually has some gel on it. And this is the brand new part. This is the original GM part for the Cadillac. You can see the part number there, and I'll have the part number listed down in the description. You can get it from places like Rock Auto, like I did, for about $58. Now this one, the gel is all gone, but on the new one, under the cap, you'll see all the gel is ready to go. Keep that cap on there and don't touch the gel. This is a fully plug and play situation. There's no calibration necessary, all plug and play today. So let's get started. You'll knock it out in about 30 minutes or less. Hold up, don't go out and buy a new sensor yet. There is a cheaper option if you like. You see, you can replace just the gel with one of these kits from Amazon. They're only like 17 bucks. Looks like it's pretty easy to do, but honestly, that's probably what Safelite used on my sensor and it failed. So I thought, well, even though my sensor's probably working fine, I'm gonna get the original GM part that's meant to last for years. And there is one more simple reason your rain sensor may not be working, and that is simply your settings for your car. Make sure the rain sensors are turned on. Go to your entertainment system. In my car, you go to settings, vehicle, comfort and convenience, Rainsense wipers, and make sure they're on. Sometimes it's the simplest things that cause our problems. All right, if you decided to replace the sensor, let's get started. We need to remove these two plastic covers on the CTS around the rearview mirror. It's made up like this. In fact, oh, look, there's all that old gel that was in there. So these two pieces go together like this. Mine's been off a couple times, so yours may be a little more difficult to pull off. In fact, I've even broken one of my clips. But guess what? These parts together are like 15 bucks if you want to replace them someday, so don't worry about it. So I just kind of squeeze and press on the sides. You might want to use a trim tool of some sort, and this pulls straight down and out. Here's the sensor right here. Pretty easy access, but we do need to remove the upper plastic piece. I'll remove my toll tag, and then the upper plastic piece sort of is mounted on the metal frame for the electronics behind the mirror there. It comes off pretty easy. Now we need to remove the mirror. We're going to use a T20 Torx bit, remove this screw, and then the mirror just slides upward off of its mount. But it's still attached with a cable, so you'll need to disconnect that. There's a little spot for you to press with your thumb to release the clip. This cable here is the one that goes to the sensor. Just unravel it from around the edges, and then press this tiny little clip here on the side to pull the plug out. Once the plug is out, you need to release it, so press in the center of this metal spring clip with your finger and then use a flathead screwdriver to lift up the edge of the clip. Now you can pull the sensor out, pull it down, and thread the wire through the frame. With the sensor out, you can see the little window to the glass and a lot of old gel. Let's clean that up. I'm using one of my most used products, and that is 70% isopropyl alcohol, but you could probably use any kind of glass cleaner. Just clean on the outside and inside so you know that it's really clean. I started with a paper towel and finished off with a microfiber. Since our new sensor didn't come with a cable, we need to remove the old one. You'll need to use a pick or a paper clip, and I found pressing in that hole doesn't really help, so instead I ran it underneath the plastic in that area and I was able to loosen it up. Then just plug the cable back into the new sensor. Take your new sensor assembly and thread the cable up through the frame. Now carefully remove the cap on the sensor, position the sensor right where it needs to be. You can take note where the metal clip is, and carefully place it against the windshield. It's not as critical as you might think, but you do need it centered, and you do want to sort of gently roll it on there to minimize any bubbles that might be captured in there. You definitely don't want any bubbles. But if it looks like this, that's good. Make sure the clip is fully secured, and if needed, you can press on the sensor to make sure the gel is fully seated. Here I'm kind of pressing it and rolling it around just to make sure I've got it set as best I can, because I wasn't completely sure. Tapping on it slightly may relieve some bubbles as well, but I didn't really need to do that. In the end, it should look like this. I do have that little white section at the bottom, but it didn't turn out to be an issue. You may want to try to avoid that. Now just thread the cable back around the way it was, all the way around, and plug it into the connector. Make sure to position the connector and put the little pin into the metal frame so the cable stays tucked away. All right, the sensor is installed. We're gonna do a little cleanup around the windshield and now reinstall the rearview mirror. Connect the electrical connector and then slide the mirror down onto the metal mount. Reinstall your T20 screw, making sure that the mirror is solid in place. And then replace the upper piece of the plastic cover. Again, you'll need to fiddle with this a little bit to get it just right, and then fit in the lower half. I've had times where I had to mess with this for a few minutes just to get it right, because you need it to stay on the windshield but also clipped into the upper piece. So don't get frustrated, just keep at it. All right, a final cleanup, and now let's test it out. On the CTS, you move the wiper stock up one notch, and now give it a spray. Oh yeah, it's working. Look at that. I love it. And it's gonna wipe a few times until it feels that it's completely dry. If it doesn't stop, that may indicate that your rain sensors are not turned on in the settings of the car. All right, that's it to installing a new rain sensor on your Cadillac CTS. I hope you found that super helpful, and maybe you're a little happier now that another feature of your Cadillac is working again. I sure am glad to have it back. If you're really thankful that you found this video, show me by hitting the super thanks button down below. YouTube allows you to donate directly to the channel, or consider buying my cup holder inserts. If the bubbles in your cup holder have fallen out or are starting to fall out, you may want my inserts. That's a great way to support the channel. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider hitting the bell to be notified of future Cadillac content. Thanks so much for watching the Jeff Yoli channel. We'll see you next time.